Welcome to Honestly Rated, and today we'll be talking about your favorite oxygen-making Skylander, Tree Rex. If I had to take a quick guess, I bet you Tree Rex is probably one of people's most favorite Skylanders other than Trigger Happy, Spyro, anything from the older times, for the reason being that it's probably a lot of people's first Skylander. And today we'll be taking a look at Tree Rex's moveset and overall design to figure out if he's worthy of being up in those top 10 lists, or maybe those goggles of nostalgia are being a little bit too tightened on. But before we go into the moveset, let's talk about Tree Rex himself and how he became a Skylander, because it's actually probably the quickest one so far. And you might even know it. Tree Rex was actually just a big tree at some point in Skylands, and Archaeans built a factory to build their big old machines, and a lot of the magic and tech of it kind of seeped out of that factory and, went into the tree. The tree soaked that shit up, and it turned into Tree Rex, and Tree Rex now, it became a Skylander, a guardian between the nature of things and things trying to corrupt it and ruin it. So, yeah, pretty quick one, and you know what, that makes fucking total sense. If you also want to see your Skylander on Honestly Rated next, there's only one thing you gotta do, and that's going into the comments. And if you don't know which ones I've already done, well, I have other good news for you. There's a whole playlist on my channel that has every single one that I've done so far for you to go check out. And if you end up liking these videos, why not drop a subscribe and maybe even like the video if you want. But other than that, I'm ready to go see what Tree Rex really has in store for me and you. Tree Rex starts us off nice with Shockwave Slam and Sequoia Stampede. Using overall his most primary feature of him, other than being big, is a gigantic ass fist with all those prickly bits on it. And with that, he likes to slam the ground with it, which does a pretty hefty chunk of damage. And he likes to run around a little bit and push people over like the big bully he is. And these two moves work really nice together. I really like the pushback for the simple added effect that it isn't like a pushback, like it doesn't fully like launch them, but it simply pushes them a little bit forward in front of you. You can still knock them off of ledges. And the thing that I like about it the most, though, is that it works really nice with just a simple slam, because after you push back an enemy, you do have the time window to usually pull off two, maybe just one, depending on the enemy, and just do a nice chunk of damage, and then you can go right back into stampeding and, kind of hoarding things together and getting ready to just kind of slam multiple things at once. Obviously, Giants are very good at just killing multiple things at one time, and these two moves are a nice start off. They work nice together, they obviously make sense, but let's go see how that third move is going to pair in with these two overall. Photosynthesis Cannon is a straight up lie. This move is more of like a photosynthesis water gun. And no, even though it doesn't have much of a ring to it, it still is what it is. It doesn't do anything, and at least for now, this upgrade is completely useless. It's doing roughly 15 damage, and I can tell you, I like the premise of it. I like when my melee characters get a range option, but Tree Rex is in a little bit of a different ballpark, where most Skylanders that are cores, and overall anything else, usually tend to not have a lot of HP or have defense, right? But Tree Rex is different because he's a giant and obviously has a shitload of HP and a good amount of defense. So having this range option that doesn't do a lot of damage is pretty pivotal. And you may be like, well, it's only 5 less than the dash, and that's true. But the dash can insta-kill if pushed off the ledges, and it also adds in more into the conversation by enabling you to lead up with a slam and guarantee at least a hit before getting hit yourself. But this little green blob that we shoot out only does 15, has pretty long end leg, and you're not really going to be able to combo anything in there. You're kind of probably going to shoot it and then dash away. And maybe towards them, maybe away from them. I really don't see where the use of this thing comes in, at least, again, in its beginning iteration. The upgrades will hopefully make it a lot better, but there's only one way to find out, and that is if we continue on. So let's skip over this for now, and hopefully in the later end, get back to it at a fine pace. Big Thorn Shockwave Slam is a very great move for Tree Rex that has a one big downfall. So the positives is it's a chargeable move that does a shitload of damage. It pushes back even further than the normal punch would normally do, and if you do it with the Stampede move or a shoulder dash move, it is pretty common for you able to chain up to 2 to 3, even more than just a normal punch, it feels like, just because of how nice that knockback really is. Now, the thing that does make it a lot more iffier, though, is when there's a lot of characters or enemies on screen. For some reason, I don't know if it is an enemy limit to how many this move can hit, but if there is too many enemies on screen or if there's too many close to you, it ends up not really hitting everything around you. and that is okay, right? Like that, I could mind that, but it sometimes usually hits enemies that are further away from you, which doesn't really make sense. You would think the place that it would hit the, you know, common would be in front of you, but no. But since it hits from afar, the enemies that are up in front of you that you're planning to hit won't move, and you'll get hit for, I don't know, maybe 4 times from depending on how many enemies you have. And I'm pretty sure it is like an enemy limit thing, because if you have up to like 4 to 5 of a certain enemy and close up to you, you can tend to hit them all without any problem. But if there is more than that, it doesn't end up working well. So yeah, I don't know if this is a problem in other games. You guys can let me know. But in Imagineers, where I do all my testing and overall testing out a character, obviously I'm going to have to dock it for some points. So not a bad move at all. If it wasn't for that minor setback, this is a great move that adds a lot of creability into them, and even maybe even gives a use to the fucking pea shooter of a cannon we have, where you can at least throw out maybe like a couple blobs before the enemy gets to you. So yeah, it is a great move, but that one thing of just not being able to consistently know if it's going to hit or not is not great if it comes to higher difficulty where damage is increased or you're on low on HP. For the last two in the primary path, we have Super Stampede and Tree Folk Triple Shot. Now, for the Stampede side of things, it's just a damage increase, and personally, I would probably want more of like a speed boost. Not because it's slow, right? It's faster than Tree Rex's normal speed, but just to hit multiple things and maybe even get even more enemies in a line to maybe even do one of our great slams that we got just previously. But that's like a minor thing. That's more of a me thing. And overall, more damage isn't bad. It's not a lot more damage, but it's fine. But the thing that is mainly here to talk about is our little triple shot we have here. And honestly, it is a great upgrade for our little booger blast. Now, it lets us shoot off a burst of 3, but the main thing that I like about it the most is that if you just keep spamming the button, you'll keep shooting. So you can just kind of, you know, cuphead that shit and just kind of keep firing. And even though it's still not doing a lot, I don't see it being perfectly useful. It's definitely a lot more useful if you're farther away from the enemy. If you start farther from the enemy and you end up just kind of wanting to shoot him while he kind of gets to you, hey, I perfectly see that. And now it's not only like 15, and then 15 again, and then another 15. No, it's just a constant burst of shots until you eventually stop. So yeah, I actually do enjoy this, and I'm glad this is in the primary, because if this was in the secondary, it would obviously still be good, but then you would have to ditch a path, and who knows, maybe the top path is very good, which is we're going to talk about first. So let's go talk about it. Overall, primary path, very nice, very rounded out. I think damage is there. I think everything did get an upgrade, and it all helped in some type of way. Just a little bit on the weaker end for some of them, just in that case. But let's go to the top path. With Tree Folk Charger, we are going to be dealing with our Stampede, and the first upgrade, Titanic Elbow Drop, is honestly something you probably want to see in any Giants character. This allows us, after we do our Stampede, to press triangle and literally drop our body weight onto a poor, unexpected Chompy. If stomping on them wasn't literally enough, literally just walking on the guy, we get to drop our whole mass, everything that's on us, on them, and absolutely dig their grave while putting them in it. And I like it a lot for multiple reasons. For one, again, it's a pretty goofy mood, and I like that. I find it funny. But the main thing, the overall gameplay-wise side of it, is that it is a actual proper launch back. Stampede would do like a shove backwards, but this is a launch backwards, and I like that for a lot for 2 reasons. For one, it mixes it up from the normal Stampede. If that was also just like a normal pushback, you wouldn't really feel like it's adding much, but this adds a pretty nice sum to it, a lot farther knockback. And the other reason I like it for a lot is because of our big thorn punch that we have. As you remember, the main problem with it is that it sometimes really didn't hit enemies in front of you for some reason. At least that's what the most I would see it not do if there was a lot of enemies. And the nice thing about that Titanic drop is that it pushes enemies farther back. So if you have a lot of enemies around you, they're all getting pushed back, you do one of those big fists on the ground, you don't really have to worry that if they just don't get hit, they'll hit you back right after. So it's a very nice setup move. And since our Booger Blast is actually pretty, not useful, but usable, it actually does come in clutch at some point, where if you just want to kind of blast them and just kind of do another Stampede towards them and drop them again and then keep blasting them again, I find that to be perfectly fun and good. So it adds even more combo routes to kind of chain things together. And I honestly had a blast without even having the other two. So if the other two can just keep adding onto this fucking drop set we have here, this is obviously a very great path. But let's go take a look. The last two for the top path is going to be Light-Footed and Ultimate Stampede, and these are just upgrades overall, like damage-wise. And even though I find these to be perfectly nice to it, he even gets that sweet battle armor. So with Light-Footed, we get to move even farther and faster, which is something that I mentioned before. And then the Ultimate Stampede is just allowing for the maximum damage to be pulled out. Now, again, I don't think damage is really necessarily what the Stampede really needs, but I'll let it slide just a little bit, just because it is actually a damage upgrade comparatively to the primary one. The primary one did like 5 extra. This at least does 10. So I'll let it slide a little bit. But the reason why I'm seeing it's a little bit more redundant on the top path comparatively to the primary path is that we got this fucking drop our whole ass on enemies, and that is primarily the damage dealer right there, and just for comboing in. But again, I won't complain about extra damage. And with, again, moving farther, that's pretty cool. I enjoyed that a lot. And again, that was something that I said I would wish for, and it looks like I got my wish to come true. And it actually is pretty nice. Now, something nice with the Stampede too that I kind of failed to mention was that if you start up a Stampede and do like a really sharp turn to the angle you want to go at, you will go that way. And with that, it does kind of make the run a little bit more of a promising chance to hopefully get away from maybe a bunch of enemies coming at you and hitting you. But I still wouldn't really trust it for that reason. It's more of just like a setup move. It's a really good setup move that is now just doing a shitload of damage, and potentially you can probably kill an enemy within one Stampede and one Mega Punch, or even doing a couple blasts if you want. But yeah, top path, I enjoyed a lot. I really like to just drop the whole weight and everything, and these last two make it feel even more powerful. So let's go take a look at the bottom path, which is going to deal with our little booger blab, and see if we can match up to the top path that we are currently dealing with. Lumbering Laserer is going to deal with our cannon, and Supercharged Vaporizer, just like the top path, gives us a pretty meaty first upgrade. This allows us to upgrade our little water gun that we have and actually make it into the cannon. The cannon that they promised finally came in, and it is nice. I won't lie. This allows us to charge up our green stone, our time stone, I guess. I don't know what that actually is. I've never seen a tree have a green gem in it, but it lets us fire an actual cannon out of that bitch, and it's super nice. It's dealing 74 damage, and from the 15 that we were dealing with before, that's an extremely better rate. And even though we're not shooting multiple pellets at once, man, I'm trying to shoot at things that have more than 15 HP, so I'm perfectly fine with that. And it's only our first one. Obviously, I still think the top path one is still better just because of how many it was able to chain into other moves. But we have 2 other upgrades. Things can change, but yeah, this move, I like it. I don't know, I don't like it as much as the top one, but that's just for now. So enjoy it. Maybe, hopefully, it'll get even better, because that would be pretty fucking cool. The last 2 for the cannon, we have Sun Skewer and the Pod Maker. And these are also just like the top path, where the last 2 were just kind of just more upgrades for damage-wise for the cannon. But this one is a little bit worse than I would say than the top one. Now, the reason I'm going to say that is because it doesn't apply to both cannons, and it doesn't really matter that much, but it's still kind of a weird choice. So these last 2 specifically go for the Vanquisher, or the Vaporizer, which is our cannon upgrade, where we get to shoot the big cannon. And with that, it for 1 goes through enemies, and for 2 lets any enemy that gets killed by the Vaporizer to explode with a little sunflower that acts like kind of a trap, but it doesn't linger for long. It lingers for a little bit until enemy gets nearby, or just, goes kapoof. And I like those. I like those 2 upgrades. But there are some points where you just kind of want to shoot through, and I definitely think I would use the little pew pew one a lot more if it would allow me to shoot through enemies a lot quicker. At that point, then I could be like, okay, I might shoot this a couple times from far away, or I don't want to charge up my move for whatever reason. And again, it's very minor, just for the fact of, like, yes, you probably are just going to be using the big cannon one. But it's just a weird thing to just be like, the little one doesn't get it. We'll leave this to be absolutely obsolete, but the big boy can. So It's not a big thing because again, you probably are just going to be using the big cannon one over and over. I don't see why you would use the little one, but you can't lie. It would make it a better upgrade if the little pew pewer one could have it. So, yeah, overall, bottom path, not even that bad. I personally still think the top one is a lot more creative wise, like ingenuity of like being able to put things through. I don't really see the sunflowers being able to really help put things together. I found myself to get hit a lot more when using the little green blob shit than the top one. So you take that as you will. But I definitely think they're pretty equal in where you go, and I definitely think you'd have fun. I think maybe more people would like the blaster than I do. So I'll put them that they're pretty equal in balance and making you really want to play with both. The last thing we have here is the Woodpecker Pal, which is exactly what it sounds like. It's a Woodpecker Pal. This is basically what Psychic should have been, and that is just a little dude chilling out next to you that deals a little bit of damage at enemies. It does roughly like 40 damage, and he just kind of does it at an interval of time. So, yeah, he's pretty cool. I fuck with him. Who would hate the Woodpecker? His name's Woody in my eyes. I actually don't know if he's a real name. So if he does, you should let me know. Because, you know, I feel a little bad if I'm not calling him by his surname. But if he doesn't, let me know what you name him. Because I want to hear it. Because I just do. But other than that, that's everything that T-Rex has for us. I'm just going to go, you know, evaluate, crunch the numbers, take a look at some tree and nature, maybe go touch some grass. And I'll be back with you with the rating. Alrighty, so I went outside, I did some pondering, I almost touched grass. I got a little scared at the end, so I ended up not touching it. I'll try again maybe like a year or so. But that's not really what we're here for. We're here for the rating. And I promise you, I got the rating right here in my noggin. And that rating is going to be a solid 3.5 out of 5. And that's not bad at all. He's pretty middle down the road. And I can see why he's one of the starter characters. He's honestly a pretty nice barrier of what a Skylander is and how you can improve in one. Like, I like him. Like, he's pretty cool. He's fun. I don't think he's a 4 just because I don't really think he really excels at anything. There's nothing that's like, I really like this, this, and this other than the body slam and the Woody Woodpecker guy. But other than those two things, he doesn't really have anything that I'm like gravitated to. And the negatives are, for one, again, Grand Slam being somewhat of a little bit of a silly thing, not really working as intended. And then the other thing is being his Burger Blast, even though it does pick up in the bottom path. For me, it's a very like, oh, I want to play both paths just because I like the things in them. But because I'm playing in both paths, I'm always going to have like the thing in my head of being like, I wish I went with the other path. And that's not really like the point of wanting to play a different path. I don't want to be like, I should have played the top path because it gives me the drop set that lets me combo into things. And then I go to the top path, I'm like, man, I wish I went for the bottom path because it lets me actually have a good utilized blaster that isn't completely useless. But other than that, he's a great character. I can see why a lot of people like him. And I don't blame you. He's not a bad character. I think, again, everything kind of flows in together. I like his animations. His voice sounds cool. Mine that I have right now, it's still alive, which is honestly a blessing. This guy is... He's so dim lit. He is getting close to the point where I'm not even seeing a light in that guy. So his torch is running out low, and hopefully with this rating it doesn't completely put him over the edge and kills him. But other than that, thank you guys for watching. And again, if you want to see your character anonymously rated, there's only one thing you gotta do, and that's drop it down in the comments. And eventually you'll be picked because I'm planning to go through every single Skylander ever made, and it'll be a fun experience. So. Again, thank you for watching. If you made it all the way through, why not go watch one of the other ones in that playlist that I mentioned? Or maybe subscribing and being ready for anything else that I post. But these will come out every Saturday, and today might be Sunday. But Astrobot came out, and let me tell you, that's been fun. That's been a real fun game. But other than that, thank you guys, and I hope to maybe see you next time. Peace.